everyone, and welcome to Tremco Live. Really excited to be able to get up in front of you all each and every Friday with great content from the industry. I am Marcy Tyler, the Director of Building Science for Tremco, and I'm joined by my co-host.
And I'm Paul Hugenboom. I'm the President of Tremco Construction Products Group, a tremendous collection, Marcy, of brands, companies, product systems, and of course, most of our people are both our own associates and everybody we work with, all our customers.
Absolutely. Well, we're excited to be up in front of you guys, bringing to you new concepts, new ideas in the month of January. And today we've got a new guest, not new to Tremco or Euclid, but new to Tremco Live. Welcome, Mike.
Thank you, Marcy. Hello, Paul.
Hey, Mike.
Mike, so thanks for joining us today. Give us a little background on yourself.
Yeah, sure. Pleasure to be here, and thank you for the invitation. My name is Michael Mahoney. I am the director for our marketing and technology package for our fiber reinforced concrete products over at Euclid Chemical. I have been in that role in various fashions now for coming up on 19 years, and came to Euclid when fibers were really in their infancy. We have since put together various programs, packages, R&D initiatives, new market segments to grow our fiber business, which hopefully is going to have another very successful year.
Great. Well, thank you. Lots of great experience there. And I know you and I attended a manager training many years ago together. So
yes, yeah.
Yes, we bump into each other in cities here and there.
Well, the training must have been good because look at where the two of you have landed.
That's right. It was very helpful, very helpful. So, well, thanks for joining us today. Obviously, today we're excited to talk to you, as we always are, about insulated concrete forms, but also the addition of fibers, which really makes for a unique system. But we can't kick that off without, of course, listing all these wonderful benefits of insulated concrete forms. Paul, I know you like to say it's almost like it's too good to be true because there's so many benefits.
Yeah, like any one of these is like a game changer. Right? The fact that they all really coexist in the same system is incredible.
Yeah. Well, and we've said before, there's lots of different, lots of great information out there. This is still somewhat new to Paul and I, so we really love this concept. And then, you know, to add the fibers from Euclid is really one more additional benefit to this great offering already.
Yeah, just to have, you know, the ICF world has always kind of grew up on its own. Yeah. And now to be able to innovate in the concrete that's really core to that wall construction. What a big leap that is.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And I always like to just bring to you case studies or information where this stuff's in action, right? So this is the Habitat for Humanity project in Joplin, Missouri. Some photos here of that project where Euclid and Nudura were actively involved in this project, and we got an award.
Yeah. Just this past week at the World of Concrete in Las Vegas, the return of the World of Concrete, the Fiber Reinforced Concrete Association, to which Euclid Chemical is a member and has been for better part of 15 years now, we were bestowed first place in the macro fiber category for helping to convert the conventional reinforcing that was in this wall, the steel reinforcing, over to a fiber reinforcing system. And so the FRCA bestowed a first place award for the macro fiber category for the use of fibers in wall systems. Euclid actually has donated fiber to 3 of these projects through our connections with Nudura and are looking forward to doing more in the future.
Yeah, I know there's an initiative where they're going to do at least 50, and I know that'll just continue to grow with Habitat for Humanity.
But what a great recognition, Mike, for the work that you and your team have done. I know a lot of times you're quietly in the background, but it's great. It's great to see you guys get that recognition on such an incredible organization.
Absolutely. And I love just some of these additional pictures. There is a video on this project that you can find on.
It's a fantastic video.
Yeah.
Marcy, it probably brings tears to most people's eyes, including mine.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great because we're able to provide this home for somebody in that, you know, that served his country. He talks about the strength and durability of his house. Called it in the video a bomb shelter, right?
Yeah.
You can hunker down,
feel safe. Feel safe.
Yeah. And I love just again that outreach, right? That the team, everybody involved, cutting of the ribbon and signing the Nudura walls before they continued on with that project. So it's always great feel good for sure. So check that video out. If you can't find it, you can always email me and I'll send you that link. This is part of that, right? Part of that the ability to give this family a very strong, durable home. I read some of the information already on this in terms of, you know, seismic, earthquake, all those these requirements, wind loading. Talk to us a little bit about this, Mike.
Yeah, sure. So for the most part, we promote our fiber reinforced products, specifically our TUF-STRAND SF fiber, as a replacement for steel. And obviously, there's a lot of engineering that has to go into support that. And so for this particular project, working with Nudura over the last more than a year now, is we've had to approach a couple of engineering firms to be able to allow them to sign off, if you will, to stamp the ability to take steel out and replace it with discontinuous small pieces of plastic, if you will. So, and research has been going on for 20 years on this, so this isn't new, but to have the engineering community support this with design codes and with engineered testing results and experience is very important. So we've put together a package of information to go to the contracting community to let them know how this works, what is the product, what are the limitations, what are the advantages, the benefits. Those are probably the key thing, and I think we're going to get into that discussion here as we go forward. But to be able to speed up construction, to be able to save cost right now in our current construction environment, to be able to go faster on a job site is obviously a big deal, and then to be able to have the technical support of both Nudura and Euclid Chemical behind it, the people building those. We've put that information together and are going to take that to market here over the next short term.
And that's a key part of it, right? That support. So there's so much support that you're going to be able to get. Obviously, if you work on an Nudura project, now you've got the combination of Euclid. And I know we actually, in that video, it shows Zach Davidson doing the training for the installation. So lots of support when we look at these types of projects, which has always been something that we really hold true, right? That support in the field.
I mean, Marcia, we say it, but this is a great example of, we really think that sets us apart from, you know, really most manufacturers out there are heavy investment in the industry.
Absolutely. Being able to provide the structure as well as, you know, all the pieces and parts throughout that project is great. And I know this slide kind of is an overview of what the work that's been going on between Euclid and Nudura.
Yeah, we've done a fair bit. There's a lot of synergies that the two companies have. Obviously, we have a little bit of a different go-to-market strategy. Euclid Chemical primarily sells, at least in the fiber environment, we sell to concrete producers, and Nudura is selling to wall contractors. But at the end of the day, both those parties are using concrete material. So we have to try to our challenge that we've accepted over the last year is to try to get our two teams working together and introduce opportunities, find out where we can do this, and that's part of our marketing and technical package that we've developed for the marketplace. And so now we want to be able to convince those contractors that buy that concrete that would have that fiber in it, that they can successfully and beneficially promote the use of fibers in our wall systems, and then we can get into all the advantages and such going forward from there.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then now we're getting into where, and I think too, and we can talk a little bit about the current construction environment. Obviously, we've had a very good year, and hopefully we'll continue to do so. But there's a couple words on that slide that I think are really key and are buzzwords throughout our industry. And it's the final two bullets in green: the disaster resiliency and energy efficiency. A lot of the construction environment that's out there today is looking to build better. We hear climate change and we hear issues with regards to growing population. How do we build our structures that are going to last longer and then also be more? I think there's an appetite now industry to pay a little bit more front to get a more return on investment going forward. And as we construct new hospitals, schools, government buildings, residential construction, more hotels, more malls, more commercial areas, I think Nudura has a significant value proposition to be able to take. So we'll take our charts, that's what we call them in the fiber world. These are the amount of fiber in the wall, depending on the thickness, the depth, the height, the location of the steel, the type of winds, the type of pressures that are going to be on those walls, and determine how much fiber goes in there. And then with Nudura, Euclid and Nudura will approach the contractors and give them the keys on how to build their successful structure going forward.
It's interesting. You're right. Those are buzzwords, right? It's the resiliency or durability we hear everyone talk about, and of course, energy efficiency, right? So
Yeah.
we tend to focus maybe not on both of those areas as much as we should, right? Disaster resiliency is something that maybe what if, right? But it's still super important. You want not only to have your building standing, but able to live in it afterwards.
Yeah, and the other thing, as we've seen, Marcy, there's an accelerating, severe hail zones.
Yeah.
Just growing and growing. Tornadoes are showing up in higher frequency and where they've never shown up before.
Yeah.
100-year floods occur every year.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the fire where we've pushed construction into areas that fires used to be able to just sort of clear through, and especially we see that out west where we've constructed in construction zones that in hindsight you're like, they're very fire challenged.
Yeah.
So all of those trends seem to be like happening in the last 10 years, and Eudora is just an incredible answer to those.
Absolutely. When you think about energy efficiency, that's something that can affect you every single day, right? You're going to build with something that's actually going to improve the outcome every single day.
Yeah, and I think the big thing on Eudora that's always the eye opener, Marcy, and you and I have hit this over and over, it's the thermal mass thing. Everybody knows how to talk about R value.
Yeah.
But I think the innate intuitive understanding of the thermal mass value of a Eudora structure and the use of concrete, I think that's only just gotten started.
Yeah. The guys just told me an interesting story about that, about a home, and it was an Eudora home, and she thought the furnace was broken because she couldn't seem to increase the temperature. Well, she never turned it on. So it was over a year of being constructed. She never even had to turn her furnace on until one point when she finally had to. It just wasn't engaged. So I thought that was an interesting story those guys told me. They have such great stories. Speaking of stories, I think you mentioned this already, but it's that history, right? 20-year story to get where we're at today.
Yeah, I mean, and this is the construction environment in a nutshell. I mean, I've looked at, I mean, I'm a civil engineer by background, kind of delving into some of the marketing of how to get a product forward. And in the construction environment, it takes years, if not decades, to bring new technologies to market. 20 years ago, the word macro fiber and anybody to consider using plastic, pieces of 2-inch plastic to replace rebar in the market was non-existent. And I was fortunate enough coming out of college to be involved in an R&D program, helping to develop what became TUF-STRAND at Euclid Chemical. I was brought to Cleveland, to our headquarters here, to help to promote and market this. There was different distributors that have taken this to market. We've taken a look at different approaches where to take the product. Obviously, we've had with our specification work. Competition has grown. I do a lot of work on codes and standards throughout the United States, Canada, throughout the Americas, and education is still the biggest key. Getting in front of the users of products like this in the industry, convincing them that this is a viable solution. I've got a slide that I've used in the past, greener, cheaper, cleaner, faster. It's all of the benefits that we've been able to promote and share come off of those R&D programs. And it might have been 20 years since we started this program, but I think the next 20 years are just as bright. It's going to be a fun ride for the next little bit.
Absolutely, it sure will.
Yeah, and I guess this is a bit of those marketing slides together. I think we finally achieved, after many years, that market acceptance. Obviously, when you bring a new product to market, people want to try it. They want to see what others are doing. I've talked a little bit about some other technologies, especially in the retail space and the technology space, things like cell phones, and how people will generally gravitate to the next model, the next newest thing that's out there very quickly. But in construction, when we're building structures that have to last 50, 60, 70 years, there's always a bit of a hesitation to try something new. But I think we finally crossed that bridge. When we look at the large distributors like the Amazons and the FedExes of the world, the General Motors, the Fords, small retail, large retail, they've now recognized the benefit of the work that we've done over this last 20 years. And so departments of transportation and highway paving, different engineering community standards through the American Concrete Institute, contractors that are now calling us saying, we want to get in on this game. How do we make our floor cheaper? How do we make it faster? Owners want to get value. Now we're back to that resiliency and efficiency slides. If we can have less people on a job site, especially in a COVID environment that we're still navigating, if we can have less people on a job site, does that make it a safer working environment? We wouldn't have talked about something like this a couple of years ago, but we're in that next phase of growth with this particular product, with the TUF-STRAND materials. The macro fiber market is growing very much. Euclid participates, as we said before, with some trade associations with our competitors. We're always working with them to grow the marketplace and look at the bigger picture in terms of who we're competing against, and that's the conventional steel marketplace.
Lots of great information here. I think it's we've had this conversation before, Paul, with different technologies, right? Technologies that we've had for a long time, that we put that effort and energy in to really understand them, or else repurpose them somewhere else, right? It's that longevity and that history that it really goes a long way.
Yeah, and I know Mike's used the term 20 years. I always like to say generational, right? It's really takes a whole generation for something to become called the new normal. And it just requires a lot of patience is the wrong word, Marcy, because I'm not a patient person, but I guess persistence.
Yeah, persistence is good. Persistence is good.
And Mike and the Euclid team have been incredibly persistent.
Yeah, I guess then this slide needs to become historical persistence. Then I guess that's the way we'll cover that one. So no, we've and coming back to the Nudura, to the ICF wall. I mean, actually the development program, the R&D program that was part of the original, what became TUF. It was not that name at the time, but at Dalhousie University up in Canada, where we were doing a lot of this research, we were actually testing fibers in ICF wall systems at that time, and may have been one of the first applications ever for fiber in a wall system. And we had to prove without any reservation that fibers could replace steel. So we were building full-scale structures in the laboratory that I was working in, taking a look at things like axial bending, combined loading on those walls. If we put a soil pressure, and we take the steel out and replace it with fiber, is that wall the same strength? Is there any issues going forward? So all of that work that went into that actually was what helped develop our codes and tables that we've had to then promote and take 5 and 6 years through technical organizations to develop into codes and documents. And it was really in 2018 when the American Concrete Institute published a design guide for fiber reinforced concrete that the market then really began to open up and allowed us to go to the engineering community and say, see, we've done all this research, we've done our homework, we've been persistent, and now we want to go to market with a proven tech.
And a lot of times that takes a long time, right? Getting it out there and getting it approved and getting it through all the industry associations, all of that takes a lot of time.
Yeah, and then from there, now we're developing our marketing pieces, what we call our cut sheets or sell sheets. We want to make sure that everybody understands we've taken a very engineered, very technical approach. We want to make sure we cover our bases first before we say anything that might get us in trouble going forward. We've developed Excel-based calculators. We have mobile tools available. Everything is built off of design codes. So we've got ourselves covered in terms of how we go to market, and we'll then take this to the engineering community so that they can build with fibers and Nudura walls. And then of course everybody still wants to see where else has this been done, and so we do have a precedent set. We did work with a national builder seller years ago, primarily in the Ohio markets, but we have done some work outside of Ohio and in other parts in the US and in Canada as well, whether it be a sound wall or a septic tank, a pipe system. There are over 1,100 structures to date just in the southern Ohio market of residential foundations that was all, again, built on the same code, same design methodology that we're working with Nudura. So we're not sitting here saying that we've done a Habitat for Humanity project and we hope this will work in a couple of years. We have precedent, and we've done this now for many years and are, again, looking forward to what we can accomplish going forward.
Yeah, lots of great information available. If anyone has any questions about it, we certainly can provide that information.
Yeah, and so now you're getting into the advantages. Those are obviously going to be the questions. We've proven the technology. We know how the engineering works. So there are some differences, obviously, and we're adjusting to that with our collective teams at Euclid Chemical and Nudura, understanding that fiber reinforced concrete is a little bit of a different beast compared to conventional concrete. We want to have concrete flow. It has to consolidate. It has to be a sound, solid wall. And we're replacing the rebar every, whatever it may be, 20 inches or a couple of meters down that wall length with fiber that's going to be distributed throughout. So we know there's advantages to that. We know there's some tips and tricks, and we're working with the Nudura team and the Euclid team to make sure they're communicating the right information to those contractors, showing the advantages. I think today some of those advantages really are going to be in cost. Our building costs, as everybody knows, have just skyrocketed in the last year or so. But if we can get into a job site faster, some of the terminology I've used is demob, mobilization and demobilization of people on site impact, obviously when it comes to the green initiatives. If we can reduce that, that is an overall reduction of cost. So we want to take that to the market as well. We want to communicate as much of the benefits as we can. It'll be regional. Some areas will have different things that they wish to consider. And again, making sure that they understand that fiber reinforced concrete is reinforced concrete.
And of course, you've mentioned it, but I just think it's worth highlighting again, right? The code requirements and the work that's been done here as well.
Yeah, we've had tables and charts out for some time, and I always like to present this to the engineering community to show our approach. The International Residential Code does have language supporting what they call alternative designs. Fiber reinforced concrete, like what we're doing with Nudura, is not specifically in the IRC document, but that is why we had to approach some independent engineers. These code documents, for those people who've been involved with these committees, that takes years to develop. Yes. So there are paths you can go through with this type of a document. There are ways to take the IRC and say, well, there is language for alternative designs, and you would typically go to an engineering firm to show what they've done, and that is exactly what we've done. And we've approached two firms, one in the United States and another in Canada, to take a look at how the IRC designs are done, and then to develop our own tables. So I'd like to thank Keystone Structural Solutions out of Pennsylvania and Tacoma Engineers out of Ontario, Canada, for working with them over the past year, and the teams over at Nudura and myself. It's a slow process, but we're doing it right. And we now have these tables and charts that we can go to the contractors that say, if you have an 8-foot wall that has a 7-foot backfill, and these are the terms that get thrown around in the design community, and you have a 6-inch wall, how much fiber do we need to place in that wall to satisfy the design requirements for code? And again, that will depend on whether you're in California, more earthquake prone areas, or in the Midwest or on the East Coast. If it's in Florida, wind loading obviously is a big deal on the Gulf Coast. So we have all that built. We are now presenting that to the design and the building community, and just obviously can see where we can take this.
Absolutely. And I always like to put above grade information in there, because it's not about just below grade, right? We've got the above grade information specific, and I kept this in here just because, Paul, if you look at the right, it says 150 mile per hour wind gusts, and then down below it says 180 mile per hour wind gusts. So
that's pretty good.
It's pretty significant that we're looking at there, right? So different things to consider above grade, but we've got that handled, and below grade as well. So lots of great information available to you, but just pretty exciting. Love that partnership of us being able to come together.
Yeah, it's been exciting. I've been very pleased and privileged to work with the team over at Nudura. There's some very good people over there. I'd like to recognize Keegan Still, Todd Blythe, Randy White, and some of the other individuals over on that team that have helped us navigate, obviously, with the different market channels that we go to. We're trying to tie those lines together, so we're not necessarily working in parallel anymore, and we can work together. So looking forward to continue working with them and building some more ICF walls with fiber concrete.
Absolutely, love those guys. And there's the pic, that's Keegan up there. Oh. Yes. Keegan's in a lot of their pictures. So yeah, I love that you did the shout outs. Absolutely, shout out to Todd, Keegan, and Randy for all their support, and of course Mike and everyone over at Euclid. Thank you so much for participating with us today. Any final thoughts before we close for today?
No, I appreciate the opportunity to speak here, and looking forward to seeing where we can go, and any more programs from Tremco Live. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would add, I think Mike, it might have been in one of Mike's slides, but if he didn't explicitly mention it, the fact that fibers opens up the ability to do the 4-inch walls, Mike, that's a big4-game changer, right? And being able to be a compelling value in really any type of construction. So that opening up the 4-inch market, Mike, that's a big deal.
Yeah, we've had a couple conversations on that, Paul, in that when the walls typically get thinner, obviously the owner wants a very uniform looking wall. And I know in some of the issues, we had some people in the past at Euclid have talked about finding a pain and solving a solution. That's what we do. I mean, that's what our job is to solve problems. And in this 4-inch wall market, which we're just beginning to explore, they have difficulty in placing that rebar that's in that wall. So the fiber concrete might actually provide another edge in terms of solving a problem. And if we can make that work, you're right, that's going to be a very interesting and hopefully lucrative market going forward.
I know Marcy, our sales team's very excited about that development in the Nudura world. So
absolutely, and as both stated, we look for ways that we can solve your challenges. So if there is a challenge you're thinking about as it's related to ICF or fiber reinforced concrete with ICF or any of our systems, please reach out directly to me. There's always lots of great resources, lots of great past Tremco Lives. And there's my email address if you need to ask any question, because we'd love to have Mike back on and go through those challenges and those questions with you direct. Perfect.
All right, Marcy.
Well, thanks everybody for joining us today. Mike, thanks once again for joining us. And everyone have a great weekend. Thanks.